In this video, we're going to mix the toms on this live worship album that I've been working on here. We're going to use Reaper and the Slate Digital plugins plus one or two extras. The Reaper template with all the plugin settings and everything is available in the description, so you can check that out there if you want to mix along here, and get my workflow. So this is the actual template that I've been using here lately. So let's quickly listen to the raw files. And yeah, this is what I heard whenever I opened up this session for the first time and was listening to the tracks. So, zero processing. Okay, so not a ton of definition, not a ton of body to them. They needed some work. And, in some scenarios, I would have used a sample. We'll get to why I didn't in just a bit. So, had some challenges to work through with this. And I think that we came out, pretty good, all things considered. I think that it really kind of works more in the context of everything else. I think that's a big kicker here, that I needed the whole kit to work together. So now let's listen to them as they are after mixing. And this is just the toms, verbs, and all that. So. Okay, so I definitely think better. One issue I ran into with this is the toms themselves honestly didn't have a lot of transients, and that made it really hard to gate them. It also made it really hard to just automatically cut them up manually. I said automatically. It made it difficult to manually cut them up because the drummer was doing a lot of like low rolls on the toms, and so finding that balance of when to let those come in and when to not was pretty tough. And so I really wanted to gate out some, not all, but some, and try to just let those transients really poke through. So silencer helped here because it does a very good job at finding kind of the primary transients and letting those through. But I also did a fair amount of work in cutting out or not cutting out all the way, letting that range not be all the way cut off. And so did a little bit of that. Actually turned a lot of the silencer settings down so that it just sort of acted almost more like a smart expander of sorts. So let's take a listen here. Let's take a look, I should say, at our EQs. So that's Tom 2. Let's open up Tom 1. All right, so Tom 1's doing a lot. It's cutting a lot at 1K, at 500, and then down about, what's that, 250? Yeah, 280. Okay, so I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to solo Tom 1, but I'm going to turn off silencer so you can just hear the drum kind of one step at a time. Lots of boxiness. Okay, it's a lot tighter. Now let's open up the virtual mix rack, see what's going on there. Adding in some top end, taking out more mid-range at about 800. And that's all there. And then the FG Bomber, actually, trying to really tighten it up, fatten it up, added some gain there as well. So let's go with that. A lot of gain. Okay, so that FG Bomber is really tightening it up a lot, adding just some thickness and punch to it. I love this thing. It's one of those kind of gimmicky plugins, but I really like it. It sounds good most of the time. It's pretty cool. So then this was the tough part. I actually argued with myself a lot over this, if I was even going to gate these, because we're having to find a balance with this. And what I really kind of fell into was shooting for letting the main big transients through, and then letting the rest be what it is and maybe fall into the background and hopefully blend into the bleed of the kit. I think we got there. So I acknowledge that this was a tough spot, even for a plugin as great as Silencer here. So we're missing a lot of transient on the drums. So this is what we are with and without. So you can see, I could probably dial this up a little bit. The problem is, earlier in the song, the drummer was hitting tom 1 and just not giving it enough to really get through. And so just finding the balance. That's what we're doing with this. So I took the D-bleed down a lot, turned the length up so it actually stays open for quite a while, and the reduction is only going down 11 dB. So it's not even cutting off a ton. It's just sort of, kind of padding that down a little bit. Now, then, I still just, especially in the mix, wasn't getting the body out of this that I wanted. So we went with infinity bass. Frequency is at 100, amount and all that. I think I actually left these at the stock. On the punchy setting, I might have turned the character up, but either way, let's go with and without. Without. Excuse me. Okay, so it's adding in a fair amount of just that bottom end, just giving it some oomph. If you ever listen to it on big speakers or anything, it'll come through a little bit more. All right, it's one of those things. It's not something you'll hear on the iPhone. Probably not on the AirPods either. All right, so now Tom 2 is going to be a lot of the same. The EQ is a little bit less. Infinity EQ. And then virtual mix rack, same settings. I think I'm pulling a little bit more 800, but basically the exact same settings. And then infinity bass on the punchy at 100 as well. So same thing. Silencer doing basically the exact same thing as well. So I'll just turn all these off. Turn them on one at a time. So you can hear there's a lot of that bow, bow, where the drum's just rumbling. And so definitely wanted to get rid of that stuff. Lost a lot of gain there, but tightened it up at least. Now with the virtual mix rack. Okay, now a silencer. And that's a good example of where I say there's a lot of just little hits going on, but I needed to get the doom, doom the most. Honestly, because the rest, there's still a ton of bleed in the snare drum. There's still a ton of bleed in the overheads. I mean, heck, there's even bleed in some of these vocal mics, and then what I ended up, a vocal mic, using it as a room mic on down in the mix. So we're getting it from places, but I really needed to have some impact, and that's what I wasn't getting otherwise. And so I needed a way to turn up those big hits, and that's basically what we went with. So then infinity bass. Okay, so now let's actually listen to these with the overhead. So, I mean, you can hear even in the room, in that overhead, how much just stage noise is coming in. I don't know how big the stage was, but I imagine they were all fairly close by the amount of bleed in some of the mics. So, you know, it's one of those things. It's not a polished studio, and so you have to solve problems that might not be, present all the time. So, I think we made it work in the end. Now let's take a listen to this with all the rest of the drum mics in context, just the drums, of course. And full mix. So takeaways from this: toms, cut the mid-range. There's going to be that gnarly, just gross, weird mid-range on most toms, especially live. A lot of that studio stuff you can get out really in the room. You can get out in some of the more creative ways in recording. But a lot of times, the truth of the matter is, live drums are mic'd up so that they can just be pounded through a PA system and then, whatever. That's not always the case, and I'm not saying that's the best way to do it. I'm saying that's just a fact of the matter. And so, with this, I think we made it work with what we had. I think, with a little bit of work, they could have been even cleaner at times, but, I think it works in the context of the mix. So, next time, we're going to go over the overheads and drum effects, I believe. So, yeah, next week, we'll go over that. Subscribe if you want to see that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.